Okay, guys, we're back. This time we're in the other studio, the normal one. And if it looks different, that's because we're on the other table. The table that doesn't get used a whole lot. I'll go ahead and remove some of these things. I got my vacuum cleaner that's charging over here. And this is what the view looks from this one. That's the other table's over here on this side. Okay, got the computer. Computer's on a rotating stand, so we can use it from either direction. Let's flip this thing around so I can show you so I can see what the hell I'm showing you. All right. We got our winter tanks that we just painted this morning. Our winterized vehicles that we did the base coat on this morning. Well, except the Panther. Panther's going to be a wreck. My light box, I don't use a whole lot, but with the stand for it. And then here's the place where I normally do all my painting from, including my colors and everything. So we're going to try to paint over on this side a little bit, even though there's not much on it. So it's not like, hey, I don't have any space to paint over there, move over here. No, so, and of course we got the computer there, so forth. And yeah, so anyhow, this is the other place, and this is just removable. So we have this surface area that doesn't get violated and stuff like that. So that's what we painted this morning. Is we muddied up the tracks on the Panther underneath, which is going to be a wreck. It actually looks pretty good, but it's in really bad shape. It's not in the bad shape as the other Panther I have, but it's in bad shape. And let's see if we can see. This got really thick paint on it, and it wasn't the paint I applied. I use very, very thin paint. Yeah, there we go. Look at that big goop by the machine gun. And it was damn near pink. Did I leave any of it on there? No. I mean, there was even goop on the bottom of it. What a mess. So we did that. We took these T-34s and we winterized them. Okay. They have no weathering on them, so we're still going to do black lining and stuff like that. I'm probably going to skip the brown wash part on these. That's probably what I'm going to do, is I'm probably going to skip that part. But we've got this one and the two twins that are going to have red markings on them because it's winter time. They'll stand out well as far and the SU-85. These are all going to have red markings on them, red writing, red numbers, whatever it is that they have. Instead of it being in white, it'll be in red. You got this two crappy Shermans. They're really bad models, quality-wise. And they look okay. Remember, there's no weathering on them. There's no black lining. There's nothing on there that makes them pop. You love tanks. Awesome. So these are not very good models. I have an old T-34 here from Skytrex that it doesn't look like it's got enough whitewash on it, but I wanted just a light coating on it. No weathering. Got to build a hatch for it. Got to find a hatch. And, of course, like winterized King Tiger. Still can see the underlayer. This light is so damn bright. Let's see. There we go. Looks a little bit more like this. Again, no weathering, no black lining, none of that stuff on there. No rustification. So, all 1/72 scale. All right, so the first thing I want to do, and I'm itching. I'm itching to paint markings on by hand. Itching. That's what I really, really like. So this table's really pretty cool. It's if you saw my war game, this is the one I played on the war game. This table right here. It measures darn near 2 feet by 4 feet. It's pretty close to it. It's I would have been happy with two of those, but it's just been discontinued now. So I had to get this, and it has a crank. So right now, if I painted like this, I would end up getting a neck ache. So we're going to crank this bitch up. And let's flip this around. There we go. Jeez, what a mess. All right, so we're going to crank this. Hopefully the phone doesn't fall down here. We're going, oh, not like that. We're going to crank this up to the same level that the other one is. Pull this out. And they make these things electronic, and then they ends up costing a shitload more. So I opted not to get that. I mean, I should go up even higher than this. All right, so now we've got the paint area. Let's see if we can get this in there. Mr. Wonderful's back. Well, that's just wonderful. That is just wonderful. Mr. Wonderful's here. Did I just assume your gender? No, you did. All right. These things are going to look fantabulous. They don't look like much usually at this stage. And at this stage, they're already like, including this wreck. This wreck is just, yeah, it looks like, it may not look like ass to you guys, but there's really thick paint on there. But it's an opportunity to, you know, to improve your painting on something. Let's see, I can't see, that's too far away. What's up, Scott? So, see, is there a way I can get these things into shot while working on them? Let's see if I can do that. That should work. Got a little bit of everything there. And the video is reversed because otherwise I wouldn't be able to even read what's on here. So, have you had to purchase any more storage space for our completed models yet? No, not yet. I don't know where I would put it. Well, it would be in this room. This room is a lot more efficient than the other room. No. The next thing I would do, I'd probably pull the buildings away. And yeah, we're running out of space for sure. Got a lot done in 2 years. Or I could have had 2 DVA armies instead. Like, ooh, you know. All right, so what are we going to work on today? Let's go ahead and black line one of these generic T-34s. Let's do this one. So for that, let's come over here and grab null oil. And the brush is already moving them over. Well, it's therapy, you know, so I've had to double my therapy sessions. I don't know what the hell the guys are gaming these days. They created another message group but didn't include me in it, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't need to. It's just too much of a work is just a pain in the ass, and it's just really inconvenient to go there for me on a Monday or a Tuesday. And the more I do things that aren't this, the less likely I'm going to do this. So. I've gone over there in like a year. I actually had somebody that was going to the show, and I asked him, "Hey, you're going to be the show this year?" And he said, "No, they don't even want to come down and play DBA because they hardly can't even make 4 people on the show on each event." I'm like, well, I'd be fine playing with just 1-on-1. You know, it doesn't bother me. So, you doing all right up there? You got a steady income? You didn't move in. You didn't move back in with your folks, did you? That's one way you could save money. Living outside of Cincinnati. Well, now you don't have to be a Browns fan. Is that like the redneck part of Ohio? I think it is, isn't it? What's that next to? I think it's next to West Virginia. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Scotty's been on my videos before, but right now he's sir not appearing in this film. This is kind of the time that these tanks came out, or this model of the T-34 is kind of the heyday for the Germans from the standpoint of equipment superiority. Now, they're getting hit from all sides. They're already fighting in Italy and stuff like that, and they were stretched thin and getting bombed, etc. And it was pretty much a constant fallback on the Eastern Front. But at a tactical level, when this model of the T-34 came out, you know, they've got Panthers, they got Tigers. Now, they don't have Tigers everywhere, and they don't have Panthers everywhere, but they were available. And that's two vehicles that this T-34 76mm gun had a hard time with dealing with. The Germans got PaK 40s. PaK 40s will punch right through a T-34 nicely. But they have but the Russians have numbers. Now I was reading somewhere that jury's still out exactly on how many T-34s they built, but they probably built upwards of 50,000 of them. And at the end of the war, they only had about 10,000. So they lost 45,000 T-34s. However, if they had 10,000 T-34s at the end of the war, that's about 9,600 more tanks than the Germans did. So it's still plenty. But they took severely high losses. To put it into perspective, they only had 20% of the T-34s they produced at the end of the war, right? But that amount that they have left was still twice as many Panthers that were ever produced. So they had a lot. Where am I from? Florida, man. We're painting little tanks, man. We airbrushed them this morning. Now we're adding the details to them. So some people would probably just leave them like that, and I guess it would look okay. But we can do better, so we will. You're in Florida. Where are you in Florida? I bet you're south of me. What's your handle? Snap who? Snapshot Sniper. Shoot and scoot. Yeah, see this alone, and I've got another one that's just like this, so you can do a compare and contrast. We're adding a wash to the back part here. Let's see if I can hold these up without them falling off. This turret's loose, so let's just remove it before it gets removed for me. So we're making all the stuff pop. And this is acrylic. I mean, we don't need to use any harsh chemicals here. This, I believe, is the turret for that one. height that your ponytail needs to be at, or end up hurting my neck. I mean, I could do this for hours. I have. I go outside of my airbrush station and I spend about an hour there and my neck hurts. And I like to jump around. I'm like, well, why aren't you working on things from the back of the vehicle to the front or the front to the back? I'm like, because it's boring. Sometimes I feel like, oh, let's paint something over here. Yep. We got multiple takes going on. Takes in the studio here. I do figures too. We're just on a tank tear right now. Do I sell them? No, absolutely not. People don't want to pay for shit. That'd be like stress inducing. They won't be for sale while I'm alive. This is my therapy. I wouldn't want to sell them regardless of the price. But you know, by the time I'm done with them, I don't know, I put 12 hours into each one. I don't know, I'm just guessing. So what would somebody give you for it? Say they give you $100, which I bet people wouldn't give you $100 for each one. I'm not getting paid very much by an hour. I'm like, why bother selling them? Like, and I don't have one to play a game if I so decide. I paint to collect and to potentially play a war game with them. But mainly it's for, you know, so I don't go crazy. You do crazy things so you don't go crazy? Exactly. I pick the crazy. Everybody does something that's, you know, at times suck. Whether it's playing video games or watching TV or watching sports or it's entertainment. What doesn't make sense to me is people just collect stuff to collect stuff, meaning all they do is exchange money for things and they just collect things. And it's like, well, anybody, you just throw money at the problem. Anybody can do that. I mean, that's fine if that's what you like, but I'm like, you know, that doesn't make any sense to me. It makes even less sense to me if you're collecting something that you're not able to open the package on. Like, let's say you're collecting Barbie dolls. Not that I want to collect Barbie dolls. But you collect Barbie dolls, but they never take them out of the package. Like, well, what's the point then? You could just, I collect them. Where are they? They're in a store. They're there. I keep my collection in Target. They're on open packages. Who would know the difference? So we learn about the history along the way, which, you know, I think is an important part of it. Well, why didn't I paint the trash? Because that's what I should have done. Yeah, we could do them. It's not a big deal. It's just not my normal order of doing things. My controlled crazy is riding my stand-up electric kick scooter that can reach 60. Holy smokes. I do wear a helmet and knee pads and gloves, but it's not enough protection if I do crash. You said that so somebody wasn't going to say, you need to wear a helmet. Wearing a bike, and that's good. That's good that you do that. Riding a bike, a bicycle. Like, I don't wear a helmet. I rode a bike as a kid in the 70s. We didn't wear fucking helmets. I'm not riding in traffic. I mean, sure, you could fall off a bike and hit your head and you're knocked out. Guess what? You don't have to go back to work again. But like, I'm not going to. There's this big nature trail that has bike trails on it, very close to where I live, and it's very extensive. And I've ridden it. I mean, I used to use a bike for transportation. I take my mountain bike over there, and I don't do crazy shit on the mountain bike. I don't wear a helmet. I'm waiting for one of these hippies to give me a hard time about it. I'm ready to lay into them at any moment. Like, we didn't wear helmets in the friggin' 70s. Now, I'm not dry ride my bike on the road in a neighborhood, on the way to the sidewalk, but people have a right to ride their bike in a bike lane. I think it's crazy. I think it's, I mean, if you have to ride and that's the only place you can ride, okay. But these people, you see them on like a highway, like Highway 441, and people are riding a bike on there. I'm like, that's wish, man. Drivers are all distracted and shit, But out on a trail where, this isn't like, I mean, Florida's freaking flat. I mean, you could trip and fall on a route and hit, but a plane could crash on your house too, it's not likely to happen. It's incredibly thrilling, that's for sure. I took a moped. One of the things I wanted to do for the longest time is take my daughter on a moped ride. And we don't own one. But one of the places that we used to go to all the time, we'd rent scooters. They wouldn't go 62 miles an hour. They'd go 35, which is plenty fast. They'd go 35 miles an hour. And I don't wear a helmet on those because you're dealing with traffic and stuff like that also. But I took my daughter on the scooter ride. And I consider myself a very careful person. And I made a mistake where, for multiple reasons, and no alcohol was not involved at all. That would be stupid. But I hit the brake. I was at a stop, and I gunned it. I thought I was hitting the brake. I ended up gunning it. That's because I was using another piece of equipment that the controls were exactly the opposite, and I had been on it long enough that my muscle memory had taken over and I had to relearn that. I didn't realize that. So I gunned it instead of stopping it from a stop. And she fell off, didn't get hurt. When I say I got hurt, I wouldn't say I got hurt. I lost a shoe. I mean, it was just a mess. It was like, that was like, well, I'm not going to go on a moped again. Like, I was trying to be careful and still got bent. I'm like, okay, there's my lesson. Not going to happen again. And she's like, not going to get on one. She didn't get hurt at all, but, we're not expecting something like that to happen. It's like, better just like, okay, that was good. Let's not do that again. I ride on surface streets with traffic. I'm a mile from 441. You're in Northeast Georgia. Northeast. Okay. Northeast. Near Helen. Went through Helen. The hilly part of Georgia. 441 goes all the way to where? Michigan? US 1 comes into Maine. 441, I think, goes into Michigan. 35 on a kick scooter is incredibly fun. The Knightmare. Hello. Knightmare. What's up, man? Or lady. Yeah, 441 runs through a whole bunch of. There's a piece of road up in the Smoky Mountains, kind of near where you live, called Tail of the Dragon. Now I'm wanting to go up there, but I don't know. It's a bit of a drive. It's a bit of a drive just to take my car up there. Said I was on a moped style scooter when I had a mishap. I did, yeah. Yeah, and the mishap was at 0 miles an hour. Like I was literally stopped. What happened is we went to this place where you do wave runners. So we got off the ship, the cruise, rented a scooter down there. I got my daughter on my back, stopped at a couple of stops. Shoot, daughter was 11 or something like that at the time. A couple stops, went over to the wave runner place, ran the wave runners, and basically the throttle was backwards. So like on the wave runner, if the throttle it was exactly 180 degrees from the way the moped was. Yeah. So we were stopped. I was basically in the median, getting ready to go the other way. And I gunned it and anyways, I overcompensated for it. And it was like, but I basically was at a stop. So I went like 4 feet or something. Like the scooter fell on me. I was bleeding. Didn't even hurt, but bleeding like crazy. Like, what the fuck, Like, okay. A scooter got dented. We're like, shit, we're going to have to pay for it. Just a mess. Just like, you know what? It's just better not to do that again. Well, I don't have to worry about my daughter like running off with somebody on a motorcycle. You're closer to Athens. You're over there in enemy territory. I've never been around Athens. Been to Atlanta a couple times, up in the Helen area one time. I don't know if I had somebody from Georgia on before. Most people that come on are Europeans. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Affiliation with UGA hysteria. I don't have any affiliation with Gator hysteria here either. Atlanta area native, born there, try to avoid the big city nowadays. Ah, the kaiju's back. What's up, right hand? I liked Atlanta, not to live there, but I liked Atlanta before they started burning it to the ground with all those protests they had a few years ago. I thought people were pretty nice in Atlanta, as opposed to some place like Miami that the traffic is the same, but it's just totally different. Like Miami and in Atlanta, people at least are civilized. But I'm not a big city person either, Big city for me is 150,000, and now I live in a town that has 10, 8, something like that. Just outside where I grew up. Basically the same thing. I'm one exit on the interstate north of where I used to live. And in the town that I work in. And it's not like I live on a dirt road or anything like that. That would be. It's fine if you're into that. I'm not. When I live on no Lime Rock Road. What are those things called? Washboard. One of those washboard roads. You know what I'm talking about. What type of tank am I painting? Right now I'm painting a T-34-85. And we airbrushed it this morning. And now we're just adding details, and then we're going to add rust. This thing's going to look freaking amazing. thing about all this is it's like, you know, it all takes time. You can't just like you airbrush it. Well, how come it doesn't look that good? Because there's like 50 other steps after that. You know, it's not like, okay, we're done. Like, there's more to it. Patience, young grasshopper. What's this crap? I don't know. You walked into it. That crap I do all the time. Oh, man. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk into something I don't like a sporting event or something. What the heck? What's this crap? What's the meaning of this? Oh, I drilled out the little tailpipes on there. That's cool. Proactive. Laughter is the best medicine, especially in the face of lunacy. Okay, I gotta go. May or may not see you later. Okay, I may or may not be here. Be well, man. Laughter is the best. I don't know. This is my therapy. So I don't end up on an evening news. Somebody said to me, I said, "Oh, you ever interested in doing reenactments?" Like, I'm like, no. This is my version of reenactment. I get to learn about stuff and paint it, and you know, I don't have to sleep in a tent and wear wool and shit like that. Do only good every day. Sounds like a motto for like a vigilante service. Oh, people are like, man, how do you spend so much time doing this? I said, well, how much time do you spend watching television? Like, I spend no time watching television. So take all my TV time, and that's what I'm doing here. The only thing I don't like about this is it makes time go way too fast. This is like great for like somebody who's got like a life sentence or something. Vigilantes that only do good every day are the type of Avengers we need more of. Are there any? I thought about that the other day. Would you wear a cape? Not only vigilantes wear capes. Vigilante, the watcher. Somebody who's watching. We all have a life sentence. I came with a giant FU printed on it. Oh, man. I've had so many people throughout my life that have asked me, hey, you want to go hunting? And I'm like, why? I don't have a problem with people going to hunt, but there's perfectly good ham in the store. I said, are we going to hunt child molesters? No, we can't do that. I'm like, well, then don't call me hunting, you know? Like that. I don't know if you guys have that in Georgia, but here we have, it may be, is this thing called Amber Alert. So you get an alarm on your phone that says, hey, there's a missing child or whatever. And they give you like 2 bits of information. They tell you like what age they are and, you know, maybe they'll tell you what color hair they're missing in what county. And I'll get this Amber Alert from somebody like 6 hours away. Like, what do you want me to do with that information? Do I get to participate in the manhunt? You know, do we get to hunt that person down? That's, you know, obviously don't hunt the child down. Whoever abducted the child or whatever, you know? No, then why let me know? You know, if we're gonna go on like a manhunt, yeah, let me know. Let's go. Let's load up. I appreciate your receptiveness to my disturbed type of humor. I double tap my screen to like your stream. Well, that's why do you think that your humor is disturbed? it's like a normal dude to me. I get Amber Alerts on my phone. They're quite common. You never know. They probably drove 6 hours to your town. Well, let's go get them. Let's go get them. You shouldn't be messing with kids, man. That's not cool. They got a couple of girls that put out to sea, and a week and a half ago, and they found them. There's a couple 16-year-old girls that were on a paddleboard, an inflatable paddleboard, and I guess they couldn't go against the current, and they just drifted down the coast. But the place where they found them is basically like, well, what I call a redneck Riviera, which is basically the coast of Florida from Tarpon Springs all the way to Panama City. Basically, is the redneck Riviera. There's nothing but oyster beds and swamp and gators and hogs and, you know, roads that, you know, you can't, and like you think, well, and they actually had hit shore where they found them and found them on this place that was covered in like oyster beds, but they were like on land. But if you were like, well, why didn't you just walk? Man, they would have had to walk 30 miles to get to a road, and then the road is like, you know, they got lucky. They got really really lucky. But that's one of those that don't usually have a happy ending. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they found them like in the middle of, because I'm a map guy. I'm like, well, I gotta know where this is, right? And yeah, and there's just evil people out there. I mean, you see a couple girls or whatever, you're driving around. Why would you do something to a pair of girls? Like, I just, you know, there's a lot of effed up people. I came across a news story the other day. I wasn't even looking for anything nefarious, and I came across this news story about these girls. I didn't know anything about this, and these girls were really, really young. They were like 9 or 10, or one of them may have been 11, and they found evidence of the. I guess they had a phone This phone was filming, one of the girls was filming the other girl going across this bridge, and it looks like a footbridge. And apparently, this footbridge was on somebody else's property. I didn't read too much into it, but what it was, but they caught a glimpse on this phone of supposedly the killer that killed both of the girls. And it's like, that's creepy as shit. Like, why would you mess with it with young girl? Why would you? Yeah, I just there's some evil animals in this world. I don't think they used to be everywhere. I don't think they used to be everywhere. I mean, there's always been bad people, but there's difference between robbing a bank, stealing something you want, and or murdering a child. There's a huge difference. I mean, none of them make right, but it's like, where are you gonna mess with a kid, man? Like maybe going after somebody that beat you up when you were a kid. Like, okay, it's not right, but they had it coming. All right. But a kid, why would you mess with a kid? It's not even a 15-year-old kid that mouthed off to you, man. It's like an 8-year-old kid or something like that. Like 8-year-olds still like appreciate adults. You had this one incident that happened here not too far away. And every time I think about it, it affects me. I didn't know any of these people, but this was like this 8-year-old girl that got abducted by people that she knew, and she got abused and buried alive. And of course, their parents were separated. Her dad was a freaking low life. He was in the care supposedly of her dad, and he was a fucking low life. And I'm not saying that if he was around, it wouldn't have happened, but it didn't help that he wasn't around. And they found it. I think it was like a husband and wife that were in on it. And I'm like, if I was a cop, they wouldn't have found those people alive. It doesn't make it better, but it you know, most people don't even realize how many of the most dangerous predators wear costumes and badges and hold the belief they have a legitimate right to harm you. Yeah, well, I'm going to disagree with you. Meanwhile, we're just painting our little tanks to kill our make-believe communists and Nazis. This takes a little bit of time, but man, it is so worth it. I was watching something the other day. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I started thinking, if the wrong person sees this could set them off. Like, I'm pretty rounded, and I've already turned into the person I'm going to be, right? Like, if I was going to, be some nefarious individual, I would have already done it. it's a little too late. I'm a little too lazy for that. But some of these people that are just like in waiting, what was the name of that show? Where somebody was just waiting to go off. Splinter Cell? Something Cell. I forget what the name of it is. If you're just somebody just, waiting for the right trigger to happen, I'm like, man, there's some dangerous stuff on television, man, that, doesn't it doesn't affect most of us other than to maybe create apathy or like be desensitized when you see something, really horrific happening. But some people can be really set off by stuff that's just really messed up. I enjoy peaceful activism, television, and those who expose corruption. Everybody's in on the corruption, unfortunately. Everybody should go down, and none of them will. It's the whole situation. You tell a lie, and you got to tell three to cover up the one. The next thing you got to tell nine to cover up the three, and But some people don't mind that. Some people don't seem to be fazed by it. I think it's like it's dishonorable to yourself. And I don't want to be defined by that. I'd rather some people think, man, you're an asshole. I said, yep, you do that to me. I want to be like, you're a liar. I am not a liar. That's like, pistols at 30 paces talk. And some people don't seem to mind. That's why I don't even like watching YouTube programming that's really staged. I never liked any reality stuff. It's already pre-programmed. They already figured out how it's going to be. It's already scripted. Like, you're just wasting my time. For me, it's too much trouble to script everything. That's a lot of work. And I'll have stuff that'll happen on my show that's totally unexpected. Yesterday, I was airbrushing and I stopped, and my airbrush hit the ground, and I thought I had broken it. Well, I did. I just fixed it. I don't want to have some show where it's like, man, everything he paints, everything goes great all the time. Yeah, you fell for it. You drank the Kool-Aid. Or you'll see these people that'll be a certain way on their show, and then in real life they're totally different. I had this one guy that I follow who's got millions of followers. I'm not a groupie or anything. He just happens to be a guy that does car reviews, and he's really, really good. He happens to live in Florida by coincidence. But as a matter of fact, I bought my car based on his review of it. And I saw him in a car show a couple years ago, and I was thrilled to meet him. And he was he seemed to be exactly in real life the way he is on his video. And I value that so much, because it's so rare that people pretend to be one way and then there's something else. And it's like, man, just be yourself, man. So next weekend, next Saturday, in less than a week, I'm supposed to go to a tank show about an hour and a half away. I found out by accident. Luckily, I found out about it. So we're going to do some filming out there, but I'm not going to do it live because the video is, there's going to be a lot of background noise. I'm going to have to edit it some, but it's not going to be, I'm just going to cut shit out kind of thing. Mainly, I need to film it so that, it'll be my phone just, it can do great filming. But if you're doing it live, sometimes it'll cut in, and it should be a pretty cool event. I'm really looking forward to it. I have not been to one with real World War II stuff moving around. So we will bring that to you. Hopefully we'll get that video out on Sunday. That'll give me one day to kind of put it together. Sunday afternoon, because we're still going to do our Sunday morning painting. I got to have my painting on weekend mornings, or we're not setting ourselves up for having a very happy day. All right, I got to use the little boy's room. I'll be right back. Let's see. You've also subscribed, so I'll see more of your future content. Enjoy the chat. Have yourself a day to remember. Peace out for now. Good. Perfect, man. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. Yeah, we're looking quite different. Let's see. I'm going to put my glasses on and see if I can show you guys the difference here. The light is optimized for me, not necessarily optimized for you guys. And the one on the, let's see, it would be this side. That's the one that we've done the black lining to. So it just makes things pop out at a distance. You're going to see these 2-3 feet away. There's all kinds of cool details on these tanks. You're not going to be able to make that stuff out unless you make an effort to make those things stand out. You get back here, you start kind of telling the difference. Now we're still going to have a dry brush color on top of this, a light color to bring some of those things out. But you can kind of start seeing the difference there. And I don't know what markings we're going to do, other than it's gonna have some kind of red, something red on the turret, because we need identifiers for this vehicle. Again, mowing the lawn. I'm doing a show, damn it. Who is that? Is that a guy across the street? I don't know if it is. That guy's retired, man. You got Monday through Friday to be doing that shit. So then the question becomes, what color am I going to dry brush it? And I think the correct answer is probably a combination between the base color and the whitewash. So say a green, but a bit lightened than the standard color. I don't want to use white because the white's signifying the actual whitewash that was done to it. I need to resolve something with a game today. There's a game that I played for a little bit yesterday, and I didn't want to fire up on the Xbox this morning. And I'm not sure what happened. Might have to uninstall it and reinstall it. Doesn't bode well. It's a game I don't think it's available anymore, so I hate to uninstall it. Oh yeah, by the way, there's no more version of it again. What? The Soviet machine gun actually is like a little shroud that covers up the MG. Almost like a little armored shroud. All right, let's look at this side. Let's look at this piece by piece. Before we move on to the turret, let's look at this piece by piece. So let's look at the side here. Did we do the black lining everywhere on here? No. Where do we need to do it? Here. Around this little thing, around the edge. Alemander. I wonder, I forgot to ask him, is that German? Like a German salamander, Alemander. Okay, these little dots are all done there. We have some hinges up here. Okay, this is damn near done. Let's go ahead and put another layer of this dark wash in there. Okay. All right, now we'll move on to the turret for this vehicle, which I don't remember which one of these two it is. You just pick one. I think it was that one. I haven't posted anything on the Eschi. There's a Facebook group for Eschi models. I haven't posted anything there in a long time. It's actually, they just go together sometimes really poorly. But people were telling me that these were like state of the art back when they came out. I believe them. It's just when I encountered them as a 14-year-old, not this one in particular, but some are just like a pain in the ass. Let's try that again. Woo! I said, some of these are just a pain in the ass. They try to make you, they make you want to build things that you're never going to see. And they don't fit well. And they're fiddly and the instructions aren't great. But I think they provided a great variety of vehicles that just didn't exist by anybody else at the time. But the first Eschi model I got was a Panther. I don't know that I have it. I don't think I have an Eschi Panther, like this. And putting it together was a nightmare. Putting it together was a real nightmare as a 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, whatever it was. I didn't have the tools, the patience, skill set. It had a hole that came in too many different pieces that you had to put the sides and the bottom of it together, and they were warped. All kinds of bad news. All kinds of bad news. Stuff that I'd be just like, oh, this again? I remember the first time I encountered separate link track. I'm like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. And now I'm like, bring it. Actually, I like separate link track. It's like empowering as shit to knock that stuff out of the park. This thing's looking fantabulous. Fan-freaking-tabulous. I can't wait to hand write whatever it is that I'm going to write on this. As time went on, the Soviet vehicles started having less motivational speeches on the side of them. After Kursk, for sure, there was like a big drop off in that. It's like they already knew they were going to win the war. It was just a matter of how big the body count is going to be for them. After Kursk, Germans are already fighting the war on two fronts, soon to be three fronts. The Russian factories that had been moved to the invasion are now cranking out product consistently. I think 1942 is the only year that the Germans outproduced the Russians. And the only reason they outproduced the Russians is because the Russians had moved their factories away and they were being retooled. So there'd be some factory like, the Germans invaded, there's some factory in the Ukraine somewhere. They had to pack it all up and move it away out of the reach of the Germans being able to get that. And had they not done that, that probably would have had a dramatic effect on the war. Something that doesn't really get given a whole lot of credit. But it's very important. One of the biggest tank factories was in Stalingrad. There's several of them in Stalingrad. And they produced a lot of T-34s, including some that were rushed right into action right after they were built. They didn't even have paint on them. Which, if they had paint on them, it would have just been a waste of time because they got knocked out. Because the Germans captured 95% of the city. 95% of Stalingrad was captured by the Germans eventually. And then, the whole city was surrounded. So, we got your city. Yeah, well, we got you. So, good too. So, that actually I found that out a couple of years ago. I was surprised. I always thought it was 2/3. No, they got 95% of the city. They got all the tractor works, all three of them. The tractor works, the red barricades. I forget what the three are called. But anyways, they got all three factories. And then in turn, they were surrounded. And one of the little areas that I'm particularly interested is I'm not a Stalingrad fan. I have no interest in gaming Stalingrad. It's a little too urban for my taste. But I'm really fascinated by the relief to Stalingrad that didn't fail. Ended up making it halfway or so. And that's kind of a time period where things are pretty balanced. The German troops are, as a general rule, better trained than the Russians still, but not at the huge disparity like in 1941. You've got German vehicles that can punch into the T-34s, unlike 1941. T-34s can still hurt German tanks. It's in the wintertime, not this winter, the previous winter. It's almost ready to go do some research and look up some paint schemes of Russian tanks. And I'm right next to the book, so that's handy. See if something jumps out at me before we jump on the internet. Is this light helpful or hurtful? Maybe a little bit of both. That looks, I'm very happy with that. And we're still not done. Like, we still have to do the rust, and that, believe it or not, that has a, a big effect, a big look on those. So let's go look at some reference material that we have on the T-34s. We got a lot. We have a lot. Okay. Let's do a couple things. Let's move these things out of the way so I don't knock into them while I'm slinging pages out of a book. Let's move this ugly ass thing out of the way. How did that get there? A piece of dry paint. All right. Let's see what we got here. On T-34s. Armor on the eastern front. Downfall of the Reich. What the Reich? Soviet tanks in combat, 41 to 45. Let's do this. Let's flip this around. I'm going to need to fire up my computer so I can see that it's how it's centered. No, I don't need to do that. Let me flip this thing around. That way you guys won't see things back-asswards. And that's got to be really annoying to see things backwards. Okay, the phone's about there, so let's try to replicate its positioning. Let's put this underneath. And let's see if I can... There we go. Now I'm going to fire this up on the computer, so if you guys type anything, I can read. Okay, let me bring my own channel up here. This is a Chinese Grand Prix? Wow, okay. Let's go here. View my channel. Go here. I'm gonna have a commercial not of my choosing. Change this to live chat. Skip this ad. Okay, cool. Now I can see it over here. Why does it look like it's stopped? It's not. Okay. All right. So, Soviet tanks in combat. Let me move this up a little bit. Soviet tanks in combat. Armor battles on the Eastern Front. What else do we have here that we can get T-34 juices going? We have T-34 76 medium tank, Osprey. We have tanks in Operation Bagration. What else do we have? What else do we have? Kursk 43. No, this is after Kursk. Operation Crusader, Tiger 1 heavy tank, the Panther, Downfall 45. We're not going to see any of these vehicles in Downfall 45. It's all going to be T-34-85s out the wazoo. We've got a couple of, we have a squadron signal book on the T-34. Here. Oldie, but still a goodie. may have something here in Red Army of World War II. There may be something in here. Order of battle. And I think that's it. I think that's all I have. Other than the internet, which we all have access to. Okay. And let me switch this to analytics. All right. So the one that's probably the least, and I actually have some posters too. Let's see where those are. Is this them? Some posters that came with some of these books. Here. So sometimes they give you some stuff that's worth looking at in here. One of these is, a couple of these were from the military book club a long time ago, and they would come with like free posters, and they're pretty reasonable looking. This one happens to be Soviet heavy tanks. Each one of these books usually had a poster that went with it. Here's the one on the T-34s, Soviet tanks in combat. So this is one here that Model 43, September, Tank Regiment, Estonian Rifle Corps, with a bunch of stuff on there. It's not a snow version. Here's a snow version, but it's a little earlier. Those are usually pictured in the same book they come from. This is the one on the Panther. I can already tell. That's a D-Day one. All right, so the posters are no good. Not useful for this situation. All right, so let's take a look at the order of battle, Red Army in World War II. I'm not sure that there's going to be anything of usefulness in here for inspiration. I'm just going to flip through here. We're not interested in dialogue at this point. We're looking only for drawings. What's this? Organization of a bunch of ISUs. Okay. No. All right. I'm not surprised. It's not useful for that. I also have the Fleischer's Russian tanks and armored vehicles, but that's almost all black and white. That's important for text. T-34 in action. I love these squadron signal books. They're probably the easiest thing if you're going to do any modifications or something like that that shows what you got. Yeah, this is basically what we're looking at here. This is a model 1943, soft edge turret 1943, late production with cupola. It's the only version of the T-34 that had the cupola, which just provided better sight for the commander, even though the commander was still the gunner in all of these. You still have in all these versions, you're going to have a driver, you're going to have a hull machine gunner, a loader, and then the commander that also doubles as the gunner. And the only example they have here of this tank is this one right here, which is a whitewashed vehicle. And it is model 1943 Marshal Choibalsan, Revolutionary Mongolia. That's what's written on here. 112th Tank Brigade, 6th Tank Corps, Oboyan, March 1943. That is wrong, because in March 1943, this version of the T-34 that has the cupola had not come out yet. This is post-Kursk. These did not come, there were no T-34s at Kursk that looked like this. They would have looked like this one. You know, there might have been some earlier ones. Who knows how many of them were running. They would have looked like this, but none of them would have had the cupola. So that's incorrect. Great. Now you can't trust the books or the internet. Okay. Operation Bagration. Let's see if there's any T-34-76s in here. Here's some Shermans. I don't do Sherman stuff. I don't do Shermans in Soviet service. A couple Panthers. That's a T-34-85. And of course, we're still going to look on the internet. I just want to exhaust nothing. Not surprised. I want to exhaust actual physical copies of books before I start looking around on the internet. Okay, T-34-76 medium tank. This is an Osprey. This one happens to have, who's the artist in this? Peter Sarson. He is a great artist. It almost looks like sketchy. Almost written, almost like drawn with like colored pencils. I really like the way they look. His art looks. Here's one. Here's one captured by the Italians. The Italians put a bunch of white crosses on them. Hey, don't shoot that. Yeah, this is the model before the cupola. Cut through view. Here's the flamethrower, which I painted mine with that type of markings. I have one of those. Here's a flamethrower in March 44. Here's one that has a mine clearing. I want red writing on it. Here's an Su-85. But it's the Polish army. I don't do Poles fighting for commies. If I do any Poles, they're freedom-loving Poles. Let's just look through here. Nothing. Okay. Soviet tanks in combat. Let's look at the color plates here. Su-100, T-30-45. There's one. And it doesn't have to be an actual vehicle. No, I don't have to paint it like a certain vehicle. There's decal sets and stuff like that we can look online. Armor Battles of the Eastern Front. Probably not going to find anything there. Here's one with an O2 with a red star. The Russian numbering system is totally different. They're like numbered sequentially. No. All right, so we're going to go online, and this is the one that I got the closest to. I could put an O2 on it as well. But, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a break. I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back. And we'll continue online. See what references they have there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a search here for T34 76 model 1943 winter. See what we get. That's where we're going to go first. All right. Let's look at images and see if anything jumps out at us for inspiration here. And we're particularly looking for things that have the cupola. So something like this, even though like this one would be fine. And I forgot I forgot I have a touch computer. I forget all the time that I have that. Oh, and I can also fuck it up by touching. Okay. Let's go to star decals. I don't care the scale. Modern France. Nope. Modern Soviet. Well, let me get my mouse pad on here. Modern British, NATO, and Europe, Korean War. Where's World War II stuff, man? That's what we care about. We don't care about all this other stuff. Central and South America. Who cares? Oh, here we go. Modern US. What? How come there's no World War II stuff here? Modern British, NATO, Europe, Korean War, modern USA, Middle East, Gulf states, modern. Okay, why is there not the World War II stuff's not here? All right, how about I don't know what page I was on, but it wasn't that one. New sets released in 2024. How about World War II others? Britain and Commonwealth. Well, that's all fine and good, but Red Army of Soviet Russia, Belarusian Front. Here's one that's Red Army Model 1943. Let's see what we got there. Okay, these are all, with the exception of this one. This is interesting. That one's got a air recognition. There's a white box on it. This is a little earlier one. Belarusian Front. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I can take one of these and just make it in red. It would have the same markings of each unit. Man, I thought there was a lot of snow markings for them that look really, really good. The fuck was that? Oh, that's the plug for the computer. Yeah, we're gonna need that. We're gonna run out of juice. There we go. Man, I thought there was a lot of stuff for these things. I mean, I was wrong. And I'm not afraid of making my own, but I want to exhaust all the options. KV's Belarusian Leningrad Front. Let's see if we got anything there. Okay, so you got that one has black numbers and has some writing on there. Of course, it's a different version of it, but black would look all right. It's light enough that it would show up. Here's another one. It looks like it's got Moscow written on it. Mokba. Okay, and see what they have in 1/72 scale. The scale really isn't important to me, because I'm going to hand paint them. Well, 1/72 World War II. Here's Germany. That's nice. There's only one Red Army, and it's 234.85. Okay, that's one company that makes decals. And there's another company called Colibri. Colibri decals 234. Images. Okay, I see some white things here. What is this? Look at this thing. Look at this Stalingrad one. It has a white triangle on it. How really... Battle for Belarus. All right, let's visit this. This seems about... spinning. Operation Bagration. So later on, they ended up putting these stars in white. I'm not putting any white stars on a Soviet vehicle. It's like something you got to explain to people that don't know. The yellow numbers look cool, but this is like for a vehicle that's just all in summer garb. What do we got here? Okay. A lot of these are winter with black numbers. I'd prefer red. I could just use any of these things and just turn them into red. Yeah, stuff like this. These type of markings on them. I mean, these are hand painted. I could do a better job than these guys did in 1:1 scale. So you look at something like this. It's unit number 1. And here it says, what does it read there? 89th Tank Brigade, first tank. So which markings does that one have? Let's see here. There's the first one at the top. The one that says A and then 18, right? 18, there's a 692. Usually it was like the number of the tank and what brigade it was in. So the one that says 18 is yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to take a break, do some research, stretch out my neck. My neck's actually hurting a little bit, and we'll come back. But this T-34 is looking pretty good from Eschi. All right, folks, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.